for the SpaFinder Wellness 2013 Global Spa and Wellness Trends webinar. I'm Sally Frankel, and I am so excited to be here with you today. And here with me is Susie Ellis.
Hello, everybody, and I will just add a good afternoon and a good morning and a good evening because we have a global audience, and so it might be even in the middle of the night for some of you.
And if it is, we really do want to thank you for staying awake, and we promise you that we're going to keep this webinar informative and lively. And in fact, this is really Trends Week for us. And yesterday we had a big Trends media event here in New York City. It was really pretty interesting, and we learned quite a lot, which hopefully some of it we can pass on to you today. Clarence was gracious enough to us, and they're absolutely gorgeous corporate offices, just spectacular, with the largest white conference table I've ever seen. And in fact, joining us yesterday, we had ABC News and Huffington Post, Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast Traveler, New York Times, bunches of bloggers, and actually quite a lot of other media. It was really, really terrific. And, you know, we really saw a very strong interest in our trends. So we're excited that we're going to be sharing them with you today.
Well, I have to agree, Sally. It was a lot of fun, and it was really interesting to see what the media was interested in, and we'll share that as we go through our trends. While we're just waiting a few minutes for a few more people to join us, because we are going to have a large group today, you'll see on the video here the 2013 Trend Report, and you'll see there are 10 photos. And each one of these represents one of the trends that we're going to be talking about. And so you can maybe take a look at them and see if you can guess them, or maybe you've already read sort of a quick update. We've not released until today our full report, but you might already know the names of the trends. And I'll just mention, Sally, also yesterday when we did this event for the media, we had some guests with us because we like to bring the events, the trends alive for the media. So we had with us Michael Tompkins from Miraval. We had Sarah Liv, who's CEO of Miraval. We had Sarah Olivia Brightwood, who is president of Rancho La Puerta. We had Dr. Friedland, who was the co-founder of SpaEvidence.com, and we had Jeremy McCarthy, who heads up all the spas for Starwood, and we also had a special guest visitor who will also, you'll learn a little bit more about in today's webinar. So that was exciting, and now we are excited to be addressing all of you who are on the webinar. I know a lot of you are from the spa industry, some of you are from wellness establishments, some of you are media, some of you are educators, and some of you are spa consumers, and we assume all of you are spa and wellness lovers. So let's get started, and thank you so much for joining us.
So, as I said, let me reintroduce myself. I am Sally Frankel, Executive Vice President of Corporate Development and Industry Relations at SpaFinder Wellness, and I spend quite a lot of time in conjunction with Susie and a number of other people looking at spa and wellness, and it's very exciting for me to be here with you today. It's also equally as exciting for me to have the opportunity to introduce Susie Ellis. And for the one or two of you who may not know who Susie Ellis is, she is the president of SpaFinder Wellness, as well as the chairman and CEO of the Global Spa and Wellness Summit. And Susie has had quite an esteemed career so far in the spa industry. Once upon a time, a while ago, I actually introduced her by saying she has been in the spa industry since the beginning of time of the spa industry, which was actually inaccurate, because as we now know, the spa and wellness industry is ancient in some ways, but Susie has certainly been instrumental in molding what we call the modern spa industry, and she's been involved over the past 40 years. She was the recipient of the 2012 iSpa Visionary Award, and we are quite proud of her. And this is Susie's 10th year actually forecasting global spa and wellness trends. So Susie, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the methodology that we use to put together this trends report.
Well, thank you very much, Sally, and I want to thank you, Sally, for doing this with me, because I feel that if people are going to listen to our trends, it's really a little easier and more fun to listen to, what both of us are feeling. Sally has been with SpaFinder Wellness for many, many years. We've worked together. She speaks about trends all over the world also. And so I think it'll be great to have her input as we unfold those trends for you. Just a couple of things about our plan for this webinar. We're going to introduce the trends to you one at a time. We will talk a little bit about what's fueling the trends, give you some examples, and then at the very end of each trend, we are going to talk specifically about how this trend might be used by you to help your business and to help the industry in general. So we thought through this quite a bit, and I think that part will be extremely helpful. In addition, after the webinar, the entire report, and it's about 50 pages, I believe, that's going to be available to you. Oh, I just noticed.
60 pages.
Thank you, Sally. It's 60 pages, and that will be available to you. You'll be able to click onto it and get a lot more information than we're able to share. But we want to bring this live now. At the very end, we will have some time for questions and answers. So if you have a question, you can put that question, I think it's somewhere on your screen where it asks for questions, so just type those in. We will see them as time goes on. We will address those towards the end. So let's get started with a brief review of the methodology. As Sally mentioned, this is our 10th trend report. We used to call it a report. Now we call it prediction, or a forecast, actually, because one of the things that we do here at SpaFinder Wellness is we don't just look at what's out there, but we look at what we see is brewing. And we think that's helpful for the industry so that you can start thinking about what might be coming and how you might either be involved with that or you might even want to go counter-trend at sometimes, but nevertheless, it's always helpful and an advantage to know what's trending. So what we do is we have ongoing surveys with our network, and we have a very large network. There are about 20,000 spa, fitness, and beauty providers on our website. We have thousands of travel agents we work with, I would say 25,000, and hundreds of thousands of consumers, with our database being close to 1 million consumers. So we have a very wide network, and we do surveys regularly with each of these groups, and of course we learn a lot from each of the groups. We also look online to see where people are going on SpaFinder's website. We do industry interviews with stakeholders. Some of you on this webinar have probably been part of contributing to our trend report. We obviously review the current research that's out there. We do a lot of visits. There are over 100 people that work here at our offices in New York, and many of them visit spas, and so all of that is brought together. We work on this all year. And then I do want to mention Beth McGroarty. She is our research director and editor. She's in Los Angeles. She's been with us many years, and she is really involved with this report. She actually is the final writer. She spends an entire year on this, and what you'll find is that in the report, so many examples of some of the trends that takes a lot of work to find, because we're always looking for the newest examples. So a lot of kudos to Beth for all of her work. So with all of that, we'll get started, and we'll introduce you to the very first trend, one that I'm very excited about. Sally?
Thank you, Susie. Trend number 1, and these are not in order of importance, but merely trends 1 through 10, is the trend of healthy hotels. And this is a trend that's going to be affecting a lot of people, and one that we think is going to resonate quite a bit. Basically, what healthy hotels is about is vacations and hospitality are being rewritten. Think wellness everywhere. The gym and the spa are breaking out of the box, and hotels are embracing fitness, more spa, healthy eating, and more. A good example of this was the first mover, Westin, which actually launched their Heavenly campaign back in 1999. So they've really been a trailblazer here. What's fueling this trend is the rise in chronic diseases, and in fact, in developing nations, 1 in 2 adults are overweight, and 1 in 6 are obese. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. Two out of three larger businesses now offer employee wellness programs, and companies are demanding healthier business travel. And of course, health-focused travelers represent 40% of the travel segment now, and we expect that to continue to grow. For example, wellness-branded hotels are starting to come on the scene. International Hotel Group announced that they're launching the Well brand, all wellness hotels, launching this year, and the very first Well hotel is expected to open in 2014 in New York.
And Sally, I understand they're going to do 100 of them. Yes. So that is going to impact this entire category.
Absolutely. What's another fascinating thing about the Even brand is they don't actually have a spa. But they do have fitness that's breaking out of the gym, and as you can see, this is an example of how fitness will be integrated into the hotel room. And this, of course, represents a very affordable option also, which is an interesting aspect of this trend. This is not simply luxury wellness. This is wellness that is accessible wellness. We're seeing rebranding around wellness. MGM Grand is a great example in Las Vegas. They're offering Stay Well rooms, and this is a picture of their vitamin C infused shower. I can't wait to try that. And also at the MGM Grand, they have simulator alarm clocks, bringing more attention to sleep through helping people to fall asleep and wake up in a much more holistic, well kind of way. And of course, healthier food is an aspect of this trend, and Hyatt, for example, is serving their food thoughtfully sourced, carefully served.
And Sally, I've also noticed that a lot of hotels now have healthier menus for kids.
Yes.
Instead of the kids' menus always having the same old mac and cheese and whatever, now they're doing healthier menus for the children.
And I personally love whole wheat mac and cheese. But and the Detox Bandwagon is something that we're starting to see, and this has been launched at W Hotels, where they're partnering with Cooler Cleanse to create a detox to retox package.
Those are great examples, Sally, and there's a lot more in the report. But now I wanted to just shift our focus a little bit to what is this particular trend going to mean for the spa and wellness industry. And I think, for example, I think this one is going to be big, maybe one of the biggest ones. And I found that the media was particularly interested in this trend. Now, if I was a spa, whether I'm a day spa, resort spa, or a medical spa, I would be looking at this trend and seeing how I could get involved. For example, if I was a day spa, I would look at what hotels are in my area, and I would realize that those hotels are now going to be looking at what they can do to make their hotel healthier. And you, as a spa, as a day spa, might be able to help them. So I think doing some collaborations with hotels in your area could be extremely wise. Now, if I was a spa in a hotel, I would probably go to the GM and help the GM understand this trend that's coming, and the GM will probably be needing to see how they can improve the health experience of their guests. So perhaps the spa can be helpful in that regard. And if I was a medical spa, I would also go to some of the hotels in my area, because we are finding that even people that are staying at hotel spas are sometimes interested in some of the medical spa treatments. So I think this is a trend that all of the industry should really be looking at.
Thanks, Susie.
The next trend we're going to talk about is the mindfulness massage and more. And here the emphasis is on mindfulness. What this trend means is that mindfulness is going to be something that's talked about in the spa industry and in wellness, and actually probably beyond that, because there is a lot of science that supports the importance of, or the value of mindfulness to stress reduction. So spas need to pay attention to this. The next decade will be about mindfulness. What we're seeing is that combining mindfulness techniques and body work is the opportunity for spas and wellness establishments. It addresses well-being of body and mind. The mindfulness aspect can help the relaxation, which is the #1 reason people go to spas, to be faster and deeper.
And I love this example of Miyamo. And like you said before, Susie, some of our trends are actually predictive. And this is one that's definitely predictive. While we don't have hundreds of examples throughout the world, we certainly have a few sort of cutting-edge places that are already incorporating the mindfulness massage and mindfulness very actively.
Yes, good point. Miyamo, of course, is one of them. And in fact, I would say a lot of destination spas are a little more tuned in there, but it's going to be for all spas and other, wellness establishments and providers. What's fueling the trend? The big thing is skyrocketing stress levels. Also, neuroscience research is showing, and this is, where SpaEvidence.com comes in, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but there's a lot of science behind the value of mindfulness. There's a recognition by businesses of opportunities in mental wellness and just a surging interest in mindfulness. And you can see the pie chart on the right here, and this is interesting because Dr. Friedland, who is a medical doctor and presented yesterday, actually also uses statistic that 75 to 90% of doctor visits are stress-related. So stress is huge. We know that. Those of us who are in the industry, that's why people come to us. And whereas we've been very good at giving help with the things that we do, we can get better at it by adding mindfulness. In fact, here is a quote from Dr. Friedland. By integrating mindfulness with massage, people will benefit, may also experience the benefit of brain changes that enable them to become more resilient in coping with stress on an enduring basis. So more mindfulness and meditation programming. 1 in 5 spas offer meditation or mindfulness training already. And the University of Pennsylvania study showed long-term meditators had higher cerebral blood flow in the brain. That's just one example of a lot of science that's behind mindfulness. And here is a photo of Miraval in Arizona, and it's certainly worth noting that Miraval, when they opened, wasn't it about 17 years ago?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, because Michael Thompson was with us yesterday, and he reminded us, although we already know this, that Miraval, when they opened with a foundation of mindfulness. And so that's been a thread of their program all the way through. It might also be part of why they've been very successful, because as people are more and more stressed, they are looking for more help in de-stressing. Mindfulness also you'll see with, for example, mindful fitness. Here's a woman practicing mindful fitness at Exhale Spas. So you see the word mindful coming up in a variety of ways. So the mindfulness massage, let's talk about how that might relate to how you might utilize the this oncoming trend. And like Sally said, this is more of a predictive trend. First of all, I would say you need to educate yourself about mindfulness. That everyone on this webinar, you really want to start reading about it. You want to experience it yourself. One resource I'd like to recommend is the 3-Minute Meditator book that Nina Smiley has written. In fact, Nina, who might be on this webinar.
One of our own. I hope Nina is joining us.
She is in charge of, she's with Mohonk Mountain House and Spa, and she has actually put together a fabulous mindfulness weight loss program there that has been extremely successful, and I'm sure with January here it is just oversubscribed. That's a good start. I love that book because it was so easy to read, and quite frankly, I'm more of a 3-minute mindfulness meditator than I am, the 20-minute one. So I would say educate yourself and start a mindfulness practice yourself. And then make sure that your staff, or wherever you work, that they also are aware of mindfulness. And then I would say if you're in the spa world, whether you're a massage therapist or an esthetician, or you manage a spa or own a product company, begin to bring mindfulness into your company. And then I would say you want to create something in your business that has the term mindfulness with it and the mindfulness piece of it. So, for example, you would want to put together a mindfulness massage. And one of the things we talked about yesterday is that mindfulness massage is going to be open source process where each spa and each person can actually put together a mindfulness massage that they envision for their particular business. so it'll be a signature. And I think together the entire industry will be able to infuse mindfulness in a way that will actually make a huge difference for people. Moving on to earthing.
Well, earthing, I find this a fascinating trend, and probably the trend that I was least familiar with as we were putting this together. But basically, earthing is similar to what it sounds. It's connecting barefoot with the earth on grass or sand. And earthing grounds the body to the earth's surfaces, reducing disease, pain, and fostering sleep. I think we're going to be looking for and seeing a lot more nature experiences and nature grounding. So this is an example. This is actually the El Conquistador Resort in Puerto Rico, and you can see here that she's in a labyrinth of sorts, barefoot. And what we learned yesterday, actually, on this trend from Sarah Livia Brightwood, the president of Rancho La Puerta, is a lot about the electromagnetic waves in the Earth's frequency and the benefits one gets when one does connect with the Earth, sand, grass, whatever, barefoot, in terms of that benefit. So what is fueling this trend is actually the concept of nature deficit disorder. As you can see here, there are 5 billion city dwellers now in 2013, and that is expanded considerably. And with more and more people living in city environments, there's less and less real connection with the earth. That combined with growing medical evidence of the benefits one gets from actually being grounded to the earth really is what's fueling this trend. And of course, and I think you will hear this over and over again as a theme throughout this year's trend, is that the increase in stress, again, is pushing people more and more towards this concept of earthing. There are several examples of earthing we can point to. There are al fresco treatments and classes, and those of you who don't know the meaning of al fresco, that means outdoors. This is a lovely example from a resort spa in Panama. Nature's coming inside, so you're going to see more and more examples of urban nature. Weston, again, being sort of cutting edge in the elements of well-being, is bringing nature indoors with their vertical gardens. And of course, I just love this example of Barefoot Spas and this idea of no news, no shoes. It's a company that creates bespoke holidays in the Maldives. I can think of no better place where one can connect barefoot with the sand, although you don't have to go all the way to the Maldives in order to accomplish this. And another earthing trend is the idea of raw wilderness spas. As you can see here in Langkawi at the Four Seasons, they've actually created a geo spa set in a UNESCO-protected geopark. So this is really a spectacular way to reconnect with nature and to accomplish earthing. Then, of course, there are growing unique lodging experiences. This is the Golden Eagle Treehouse, which is at the Primland Spa in Virginia, here in the United States, in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's just, spectacular. And I think that this is a trend that everybody will be talking about more and more, the idea of digital detox vacations. There's a tremendous amount of growing evidence about the impact of electronic devices on our brain, on our stress levels. And of course, the antidote to this overexposure to technology is actually digital detox and the idea of, again, reconnection with nature.
So thank you, Sally. That was great. And just a couple of things that I would suggest for spas is incorporate nature wherever possible. If you can take some of your treatments outside, do that. If you can organize hikes or walks, maybe you're a facility that isn't outdoors, but you can still have a group that will go on a walk together, or maybe you can do a yoga class outside. And you can just offer outdoor experiences, and you will find that people will really gravitate. It's almost a natural thing that's happening now. The next trend we're going to talk about, spa-genomics, telomeres and beyond.
I have to say, when I first saw this, before we jump into this, I thought it was spa-genomics, like Reaganomics, and I thought, oh my goodness, what Reaganomics were to the 80s, spa-genomics are going to be to the 00s. But I think this is a really incredibly cutting-edge trend.
You're right, it is, and I think it would be really great for the for people to just become familiar with the term telomeres and genomics in general, because it is the future and it's going to impact all of us. What's fueling the trend is that genomic science is medicine's future. It supports preventative action, and of course we know a lot of talk about prevention is happening all over the world now, exactly what spa and wellness businesses do. Test results are a motivating weapon. And what's interesting is that studies by Nobel Prize winner Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, her Nobel Prize had to do with telomeres, the protective caps of chromosomes, which are shown to be an indicator of the damage in your body. So here you can see, for example, Canyon Ranch. They've been a bit on the cutting edge, as they usually are. They already offer a range of genomic tests. And we see more and more spas either working with a medical professional or starting to reference this entire arena. So cutting-edge genomic science. Here's some visual of a telomere. It's the protective caps of our chromosomes. So those little red caps are the actual telomere. And what's interesting here is that they are the only malleable part of our DNA. In other words, they can be changed. Stress, lack of exercise, and bad diet shorten them. And of course, what lengthens them is just the opposite. So healthy behaviors can lengthen them, and that's, of course, the business our industry is in. The future is personalized precision medicine grounded in genetic profiles. Humans have 30,000 genes and a 3 billion letter DNA code. Tests can now provide genetically grounded roadmaps for living better and longer. And telomere tests gauge a person's cellular age. This is all razzling and dazzling, and the exciting part is that when this becomes more and more enveloped in our entire population, it will only point more and more to the value of what we do at spas and wellness facilities. Here's an example. There's one place around the world called the Shaw Clinic in Spain that is currently now using telomere testing. But there will be more places, and I think you'll see destination and med spas leading the way on this. Testing for telomeres is done through blood tests, but also increasingly can be done through saliva tests. So it will be interesting to see if in the future, maybe even some spas will engage in the saliva test and sending information in and getting information back for their clients. I do think that most of this will stay in the doctor arena and in the medical spa arena, which is probably exactly right, but I think the entire industry will benefit because so many recommendations after someone has had their telomeres tested and their genomics done will be you should exercise more, eat better, and reduce stress. And of course that means the spa.
And I think, Susie, we've talked a lot about this, what cholesterol and the idea of getting your cholesterol tested, and now most everybody knows their cholesterol numbers. That became owned by the pharmaceutical industry as a solution to how to control cholesterol, even though we know lifestyle change also controls it. I think telomeres and taking the results of those tests and learning how to decrease your stress in order to lengthen your telomeres can become the absolute owned by our spa and wellness industry rather than the pharmaceutical industry. So the opportunity is huge.
That is brilliant. I have to say, that is brilliant. You're absolutely right, because in a way, the pharmaceutical industry is not necessarily going to be able to give you a pill to lower your stress.
But we know they're going to try.
They're going to try, but for true stress reduction, it really is going to be about the things that we do.
Yes.
So, and the one thing I would just mention to our audience here is to become a little more aware of this direction. By all means, get familiar with spaevidence.com. Moving on to the fifth, and I just noticed our time, so we're going to speed up just a little bit. Number 5, authentic Ayurveda and other ancient revivals.
Thank you, Susie. So this is an interesting trend that we're seeing, and for those of you who are not aware, Ayurveda is the science of life. It's a holistic form of medicine that's actually been practiced in India for many, many, many years. And what we're seeing, what the distinction here in this trend, because Ayurveda is not necessarily new, and we've seen treatments in spas, and this is an example. This is a Shirodhara treatment, But what is different about this trend, authentic Ayurveda, is that this is going to be the true form practiced with an Ayurvedic doctor on staff who will actually do diagnostic pulse readings, will actually take a look at your doshas and analyze them, and so get into things like panchakarmas. So this is a much more real, authentic Ayurveda and other ancient revivals. What's fueling this trend is spa is going mainstream, and the internet is making it very, very simple now for you to learn about and book these kind of experiences. And with a growing Asian and Eastern European population, there are actually more trained spa professionals available, which actually will help make it easier to execute on these kind of treatments. So as I said, Ayurveda is a 3,500-year-old system of Indian medicine and a philosophy of how to live one's life. But right now we just see it, Shirodhara and Abhyanga, and mix those two together. But we're not really seeing, outside of a few places, the true form of Ayurveda, and I think that that's going to be increasing considerably this year, along with other ancient revivals. So Ayurveda is an example, just one, but you're going to see more Roman and Turkish baths, really spectacular ones. Well, you might say, why is this different? What's different here is that this is different than indigenous treatments that are of a specific place. So a Temakal treatment in Mexico. This is seeing ancient revivals, not necessarily in the country where they originated. We are seeing a lot more of these spectacular ancient Roman baths coming. There's a great example here in New York that we recently visited in Tribeca called the Air Ancient Bath. This is an example in Italy, the Non Assisi Relay and Spa. And of course, here's an example that you can see in Dubai. This is a Jumeirah. And what is interesting about this is that this is an ancient revival that combined modern day technology coming together.
Thank you, Sally. Just a couple of things on this trend. I think it would be helpful for the industry to just be aware that people are really looking for authentic and ancient. And so if you have something on your spa menu or an aspect of what you're doing where you can emphasize that, you'll just realize that will be of interest to people. And a couple of fun things that some businesses might want to do is just to bring in an Ayurvedic doctor to have a talk, or organize a trip to Turkey or Morocco or India, or just emphasize a treatment that you have, maybe do a marketing campaign about one treatment.
Or perhaps even if you're during SpaFinder Wellness Week, where every single SpaFinder Wellness partner is automatically participating, perhaps focus on a mindfulness massage or an Ayurvedic treatment or an ancient revival treatment during Wellness Week when it can get a little extra attention.
Great idea, great idea. The next trend we're going to talk about is what we call color self-expression. And this is one that I think you can have a lot of fun with. Basically what the trend is that color, you can do a lot of things with color, whether it's with hair, as is demonstrated in some of our slides, or makeup, or nails, that it's just almost like anything goes, and you can express yourself through color. Fueling the trend, color is something easy to apply and inexpensive. The celebrity culture, trying to out-gaga one another. Social media makes street fashion global in an instant. And there's a cultural comfort with artifice. So you can see that color can be a fun thing. You can say goodbye to the healthy glow and hello to bold theatrical color. You can look for in-your-face hair color, tattoo spas, 3D nail designs. Tattoo parlors, what about tattoo spas? Art gallery of nails, all kinds of color happening. And so I think color self-expression, that actually might be a fun one for wellness, SpaFinder Wellness Week. How about having all the staff wear a crazy hair color one day?
Oh, I love that.
Or how about having the staff all wear turquoise eyeshadow?
You know what's great also about this trend is it's so accessible and so affordable that, there's so many different ways that people like to express themselves, and this is a way that is accessible, affordable, and reversible, with the exception of permanent tattoos,
Yeah.
which I understand even those are reversible, perhaps.
So color self-expression is a fun trend, and I think it gives all of us a chance to participate. Inclusive wellness, trend number 7, rethinking disability.
This is a fascinating trend, and as you can see here, just to let you know who you're looking at, this was our special guest. This is actually Bonnie St. John, who we're going to hear from in a minute. Who we're going to learn a little bit more about in a minute. My apologies. We heard from her yesterday. Today we're going to learn about her. But this is interesting because we've seen our spa industry embrace many different kinds of people. We've seen them embrace men and families and babies, and this is a trend now that finally our industry is coming, I think, to really be inclusive about our wellness and rethink what disability means. What's fueling this trend actually is 1 in 10 people globally have a disability. But when we talk about a disability, and this is where Bonnie St. John, who you just saw on the previous slide, raised our awareness. Disability is not merely somebody who, in her case, for example, has one leg, or somebody who's in a wheelchair. What she's taught us is that we're actually all aging into disability as our population ages. So there are more and more people living with disability. And the social consciousness of disability is rising. And medical evidence shows very clearly that spa and wellness approaches help with disability. So there's really going to be, and is starting to be, a big shift in thinking about this. So Bonnie St. John, who Susie met actually this summer in Aspen, Colorado, at the Aspen Ideas Festival, they got to talking, and Susie at this point in time was already looking at the rise of this trend. And what Bonnie taught us, she's taught us actually quite a lot of things. She first and foremost taught us about even how to speak about disability, that while I actually would refer to somebody with a disability as the disabled or disabled, she's actually taught us that it's about people with disabilities, that we would no more call someone with cancer the cancer, you really wouldn't call someone with a disability the disabled. So Bonnie's an extraordinarily accomplished woman. She went to Harvard. She's a Rhodes Scholar. She had her leg amputated at the age of 5. She actually grew up in San Diego with no money and amazingly became an Olympic ski racer and won a gold medal, a silver medal, and she now speaks all over the world about disability and inspiration. And so she's been very helpful for us in looking at this trend.
Sally, you're right. She was so inspiring when I met her. And when I met her, which was in the summer, I was telling her about our trends, and at that time we were tracking this trend, not sure yet if it would make our top 10. And we discussed it, and she is a spa lover. She loves to go to spas. And she, at one point, said one thing to me that I thought, oh my gosh, she is so right. She said, you know what? We are all aging into disability.
And even though I hate to accept that, I'm certain it is true. So part of this trend really means better access and better equipment. You can see here this example of the Spa of the Rockies at Glenwood Springs, Colorado, Glenwood Hot Springs.
And they actually even have a way to help people get in and out of their hot springs for people who have disabilities. So that's really something special.
And of course, the concept of pain relief as we're all aging into disability. One of our trends a year or two ago had to do with pain relief massage. And of course, you know, more and more treatments like this Watsu treatment at the Telomeres Bath Spa in the UK, you know, we're going to start to see an increase in this. And functional fitness is part of this trend. So TRX is really starting to gain traction, this form of suspension training, you know, in fitness studios and spas all over. And so what can those of us who are on the webinar do in terms of inclusive wellness? One thought I had is that one of the points Bonnie made is to have a little bit more dialogue with people, with a person that might have a disability. So I would suggest, you know, invite someone with a disability into your practice
and give them a free treatment or a free workout or whatever. And then have them maybe address the staff and sit down and talk with you about, what their perception was, what works, what doesn't. And just the fact that you have more of a conversation about this, I know that's helped us even become more familiar and more comfortable with this entire category. And then also, so you want to make sure that you're in compliance with any of the rules and regulations because we hopefully will attract a lot more people with disabilities to our industry. Okay, trend number 8, label-conscious fitness. Here's another fun one. We are, quite label-conscious around the world, really. A lot of countries very label-conscious when it comes to our clothing or the bags we carry, but also now it's a matter of fitness classes. And what's fueling the trend is a global pop culture and a U.S. $2.2 trillion entertainment and media industry. As I said yesterday, I think this trend also, this label-conscious fitness trend has a lot to do with entertainment and fitness. Branded fitness can be lucrative, a global obesity epidemic, an aging population with greater fitness needs and more time to pursue them, the sheer size of world population and a craving for human touch and connection.
And I tend to think also one of the things that might be fueling this trend is that, as we realize how incredibly beneficial fitness is, the variety is really, and the novelty factor can also keep you, continuing to exercise, especially for those who really don't love it and, like to have that, to me, I kind of think the analogy is when you go to a restaurant and you don't want to eat the same thing over and over, you kind of want to have new and different and anyway, I just love this trend.
And I think that talking about new and different, there's a lot more new and different now than there ever has been. Here are some of the branding pioneers, and I'm a baby boomer, and I've been around a long time, and Pilates is something that has been around, Bikram yoga. I even took a class from Bikram, when I first met my husband. It was 29 years ago. He took me to a Bikram yoga class, and there's Bikram, in this hot room, and all I remember is that, not only just sweating and being absolutely aghast at how many people were in that class, but then I learned that Bikram drives around Beverly Hills in a Rolls Royce, which also got my attention, and I think that's part of what fuels this trend too, is there is some money to be made with some of this fitness branding. Lottie Burke is another older name, Jane Fonda is another older name, but a newer name now is the Hard Candy Fitness that's founded by Madonna, and that's opening in different places. But here you can just see a splash of, Zumba you're mostly familiar with, but there's, the, Soul Cycle and Insanity and the skinny, what was that one?
The skinny jeans workout.
Yes, things like that. And here's what I think that where this can be something our industry thinks about. I think it's a quick way to update your image, even if you just bring in a specialty instructor. Bring in someone with one of these pieces of expertise, or if you don't have a facility for fitness, then do something in collaboration with someone around your area that might have that expertise. You can also do a lot of this through videos, and just have fun with it, and partake yourself. Label-conscious fitness, it's, I think, just going to keep growing.
Men, from barbers to Brotox. I had to do a double take when I first saw the word Brotox. I thought it was really interesting. But this is kind of a fascinating trend. And while it's nothing new that men are going to spas, what is new is the reason, the things that people are doing at spas, men are doing at spas, and the reason they're going to spas. So we know that about 30% of the population going to spas are men, and in fact, yesterday we learned that 40% of Miraval's guest mix is men. And what really is fueling this trend is that the workplace is getting more competitive. So the need to look a certain way perhaps is becoming much more emphasized. We do have a refuse-to-age baby boomer generation, and our next generation consumers are now moving into their peak spending years. There also, of course, as with many of these other trends, you know, the celebrity standard is really setting the stage for this. And there's an exploding global demand for products and services. So booming grooming all over. Yellow spa is an example of this. And men are really spending serious money on their looks from head to toe. Our next slide, thank you. And, you know, as I said before, it's not just, you know, this is not just about men going to spas. It's about the reason that they're going to spa and wellness locations. There's many more men who are doing Botox now. But the men, what they're doing is a little bit different than what women are doing. You know, women want to go and look much younger. But men maybe want to look, you know, 5 years younger. Or they maybe just want to look a little fresher, a little more relaxed, you know, not too over Botox. But we're seeing tremendous increase in these kind of more invasive services being done. And, of course, baby boomers are the refusing to age generation. And we're seeing more and more men-only spas now opening. So let's talk a little bit more about what this means to your business. Forgive us, we actually just,
I think that was my fault. Sorry about that.
I think we might have hit a button, you know, and that's the beauty of technology here. Let's go on to the next one. Thank you. You know what? Something's going on here with our technology, so my apologies. But basically, you know, one of the things that you all can do, I think Susie's going to tell us how to apply this men's trend to your business. So we don't care about the slides. We will keep going because, you know, this is an example of a men-only spa in New York, Homage Atelier. Of course, there's the Nickel Spa there, and, you know, this is kind of a fabulous barber shop kind of look. And what you'll note here in terms of the design is that, you know, you're not seeing any more of this sort of, you know, all pink, you know, very overly feminine looking spas, but, you know, design and all sorts of integration here about men and making men feel comfortable.
So thanks, Sally. Yeah, from barbers to Botox, it is a trend. And so I would say that what people should be aware of is that there is a huge opportunity in men's grooming products. A lot more men are buying products, and the numbers have been huge. In some parts of the world, there are more men going to spas than there are women, in Asia, for example. And Brazil is going to be huge when it comes to men's products. So that's certainly something to be aware of. It could be something that you might want to get more involved with, even if you, you know, don't have a lot of men's programming. You might want to either add some or just encourage some of your clients to bring their men in. One other funny thing that I wanted to just mention, Sally, that surprised some people yesterday is that, you know, Nick Ronco from Yellow mentioned to us that what trend that he's seeing is more men interested in waxing.
I think you used a term I had never used before. What was that term they're doing?
Well, they're using the term boyzillion. And I noticed
that I want to know what it is.
And there were a few people that were sort of aghast. However, I think that our audience here will know what boyzillion probably means, and how interesting to know that that is something that might become of interest to more men. So I'll leave it at that. Let's go to trend number 10, and this is one called what we call where the jobs are. Jobs, jobs, jobs. And this one's very exciting because those of us who are on this webinar probably know, and it's interesting because we mentioned this to the media yesterday, and they were actually fairly interested in this. Our industry has grown so robustly in the last, you know, decades and years, and therefore we have a shortage of staff, well-trained staff, I should say. For example, the SRI International Study, which SRI, it stands for Stanford Research Institute, and was the company that the Global Spa and Wellness Summit engaged to do a study on spa management in the world. And what they found is, and this puts some numbers to this, that we have a need for about 150,000 approximately spa managers and directors around the world. And yet, there are only 4,000 currently enrolled in spa management degree programs. So therefore, we have a lot of people who are in those positions that need training, need retraining, and great opportunities. So while the world is talking about, and especially in the U.S., talking about, jobs and unemployment, here's an interesting thing, that our industry is needing people, massage therapists, estheticians, management, and so we want to get the word out. What's fueling the trend? The powerful spa and wellness industry growth, the global economic shift from products to services, global boom in desire for proactive preventative wellness solutions, and the growth in wellness tourism. Here you'll see on this slide there is a photo of Spa Opportunities, which is a fantastic publication out of the UK, and they actually have a job aspect to it where, for example, you can see here manager wanted in Russia, and they give you the amount that they will be paid. Here's a spa manager needed in Japan, or in China, or in Thailand, or in Switzerland, and Italy. So there are a lot of jobs available. So it's a great opportunity for people who are looking for a career. So the examples of the spa wellness job surge, there is a global jobs crisis, but demand in spa wellness industry is outpacing the supply of trained professionals.
And I would also say here, Susie, that anybody who's interested in seeing the Global Spa and Wellness Summit report on spa education, spa management, and the gap, in these jobs, can go to the Global Spa and Wellness Summit website. Just Google Global Spa and Wellness Summit. There's a whole tab for research, and this is available free of charge to anyone who wants to learn more.
Exactly. And so there are a lot of training programs around, but there aren't enough, and there are not enough people in them. So a spa career is really, really a good idea. Ananda Spa Institute is an example of a spa management program. Raisen Detra out of Sweden is just launching a new one. The University of California in Irvine has a fantastic program. Of course, Cornell, the Lausanne Hotel School. In that report, there is a listing of, I think, 65 programs around the world, and you think, wow, 65, but that's not enough because our industry is growing. The other thing that I found very fascinating about what was learned in this report is that it's not just about training people to go into a spa career, but we need to train people who are in the spa world or the wellness world to have more knowledge and retrain and keep training, and what's called continuation training. So I think that all of us need to be aware of this need. We need to train. I think one thing that is very helpful for establishments to do is to partner with their local community education facilities. If there's a college in your area, if there's a massage training school, offer internships at your place of business, and get engaged with the education and with the spa establishments together. And because it's going to really take the entire, education system and our industry to help resolve this. So now let's just go to a summary slide of our top 10 global spa and wellness trends. You can those of you who are online can see healthy hotels, the mindfulness massage, earthing, spa-genomics, telomeres and beyond, authentic Ayurveda and other ancient revivals, color self-expression, inclusive wellness, rethinking disability, label-conscious fitness, men from barbers to Botox, and number 10, where the jobs are.
And I would just like to reiterate that for those of you, since I know we've covered a tremendous amount of material in a very short amount of time, and that's always a challenge, that you can go to SpaFinder.com and you can find our full trends report. There is a PDF on there. It is 60 pages long, and you can take a look at that. You can actually, there's a tremendous amount of research behind each one of these trends, which we certainly do not have time to cover in depth here. You can also see some other examples, because we couldn't possibly mention every example here. So, we also are recording this webinar. If you'd like to share the recording with your staff, with your friends, with your colleagues, with members of your association, please feel free. And again, I want to give you the URL to find the trend. It's actually spafinder.com/trends2013.htm. If you didn't get any of that, of course, we're going to show you where you can reach us. You can, and feel free to email us, because we're more than happy to send you that link, to send you any research that we cited here during the course of this webinar, and of course let you know where you're going to be able to find the recording of the webinar. We want to make this as easy as possible for you to share this information, to go deeper with this information, and to truly use it to enhance your business.
And we do have about 5 minutes for questions, so if you have one, just go ahead and type that in. We do already have quite a few questions that have come in, and there's one I wanted to address. Someone asked about the name of that book that I mentioned, so I assume they were talking about the one by Nina Smiley, and I'll spell her last name. It's S-M-I-L-E-Y, and she's the co-author, actually, with her twin brother, of the book called The 3-Minute Meditator. So if you Google that, I'm sure you can find that, and that's the book that will help you on meditating and mindfulness. I should also mention that John Kabat-Zinn is really the founder of the whole mindfulness movement, and certainly he founded, there's a lot available online from him, and I think that's certainly a good one to as well.
And let me one more time give you the link for the Trend Research Report. That link is spafinder.com/trends2013/HTM. .htm, excuse me, one more time, spafinder.com/trends2013.htm. And that's where you'll find the full Trends Report. And I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. Susie and I always, want to just leave you with something fun and interesting. So before we go, what we're going to leave you with is this year's buzzwords. It's always fun to be able to drop these little buzzwords at a cocktail party or, at lunch or wherever you go. And Susie, do you want to read these off?
I do.
Do you want to do the hot and I'll do getting hotter, or you want me to do hot and you can be getting hotter?
Well, you know what? That's a good idea. How about you do hot and I will do getting hotter? And let me just mention before we do this, because we just have 2 minutes and we'll end with this, I wanted to say a word about counter trends, because sometimes people think, oh, I have to get on the trend bandwagon. If something's a trend, I have to, do that. But sometimes you want to do exactly the opposite, because if everyone is going to the right, then sometimes when you go to the left, you stand out. So I think that when you look at these trends, if, for example, your business, you don't have a tendency to be going in that direction, then sometimes it's good to go in the opposite. So keep that in mind. You just need to make sure, though, that if you're going in the opposite direction, you want to make sure that you have a way to really market that, because you're going to have to draw in people that are maybe not necessarily leaning that way. But it can, one perfect example, I think, is from last year. If the trend is towards family spa vacations, there's also a need for places to go where there are no kids, because some people just don't want to have kids there. So there's room for both. So let's end, and Sally, why don't you start with hot, and I will say hotter, and then thank you all for being with us today.
Happiness.
Mindfulness.
High-tech jobs.
High-touch jobs.
Nature sounds.
Nature.
Natural beauty.
Bold beauty.
Party penthouse.
Healthy hotel.
Ayurveda.
Authentic Ayurveda.
Botox.
Brotox.
Diet detox.
Digital detox.
Strength training.
Functional fitness.
Stilettos.
Bare feet.
Skinny martinis.
Skinny jean workout.
Aromatherapy oil.
Argan oil.
Cholesterol.
Telomeres.
Personal wellness.
Corporate wellness.
Fasting.
Juicing.
Currency.
Wellness currency.
Casual Fridays.
Massage Friday, or maybe chair massage Friday.
Or massage parties good too. Slow food.
Wild food.
Tattoo parlors.
Tattoo spas.
Exclusive pampering.
Inclusive wellness.
Anti-aging.
Aging well.
Bling nails.
Nail art.
Medical tourism.
Wellness tourism.
Aspirational.
Inspirational.
Experience.
Defining moments.
And on that note, let us thank you so very much for joining us for this past hour to learn about our SpaFinder Wellness Spa and Wellness trends.
Thank you, Sally, and thanks everybody for being on the webinar. And hey, we're ending on time, and it's been fun doing this with you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.